Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Shivaprasad Reddy Ananthala. Module name is Business Analytics and Intelligence. Today we are going to discuss about electricity production in UK. And moving on to the slide. Firstly, we'll discuss about section 1, dataset compilation. I have divided into four parts: Part A, Part B, Part C, and Part D. The table shows some financial results that can be used in the assessment of the performance of the company, such as the turnover, the profit before tax, tangible assets, shareholders' funds, profitability margin, and other efficiency and risk ratios. All these all these elements provided data based on the function, financial well-being, operational performance, and financial models of companies such as Scottish and Southern Energy, Trax Group, Centrica, RWE Generation, EDF Energy Limited. The measure of profitability will be used to measure the capacity to earn income. The assets and fund measure will evaluate the stability and investment worth. And examples of such ratios would be gearing, liquidity, and the profit made by investing capital or the profitability measure. All these factors can aid strategic planning and cross analysis of performance within the whole energy industry. Moving on to the next slide. Part E. According to the aggregate comparison of Scottish and Southern Energy, Drax Group, Centrica, RWE Generation, and EDF Energy Limited. The managed items are represented by liquidity ratio, gearing, and the number of employees. These are directly depend on the decision of the management, like working capital strategy, debt structuring, and workforce planning. Managers can manage the optimal liquidity by using a streamlined management of cash and asset levels. Can manage the gearing by maintaining the level of debt in place and control operational efficiency by deciding on the staff levels. These measurements are in the regulations and distribution of assets instead of auto market or economic pressures to give a clearer picture of the direct influence of strategic management, overall financial health and functional capacity. Moving on to the next slide. Section 2, data visualization. Part A, point number 1. The comparison of liquidity ratio indicates Centrica PLC peaking in 2015 at 1.52, whereas Drax Group PLC did not very much, consequently achieving the highest result in 2023 at 1.49. EDF Energy is the leader in terms of employees, 1,423 in 2015, which remains a higher figure than the one observed at RWE Generation, which peaked at 1,118 in 2014. This points to be better liquidity of Centrica and a greater workforce of EDF. And moving on to the next slide, point number 2. The trend of turnover indicates it increased until 2015 and then decreased up to 2016. Stabilization in 2017 and the upsurge after that. Before the tax, the profit loss was highly volatile as it shot up in 2015 and then moved into losses in 2020 and 2022, with some minor product profit fluctuations which demonstrated a volatile profitability but a stable recovery of revenues. Part B. The chart demonstrated an unusual profitability level even when the turnover recovers, which means something is ineffective or there is a problem with cost. There are different trends on liquidity and employees that do not support an exact approach to management since they differ from different to company. A rapid turnover does not guarantee high profitability, and thus there is a need to curb operational expenses. The long-term financial strength can be helped through stability in liquidity and workforce size. Part C. Trend should never be in a bar chart, nor comparison in a line chart, nor proportion in a pie chart, nor the checking based on KPIs and gauges. For example, Amazon implements sales in graphs on the basis of real-time sales and inventory bar charts to make optimal supply chain arrangements. Be more responsive and avoid stockouts with the help of data. And moving on to the next slide, section 3 summary statistics. Part A. The overview data of the statistical results addresses 10 values. N is equal to 10 of significant financial indicators. The standard deviation of mean turnover is moderately high, being value is 150688800 and the standard deviation of value is 29888200, which is the mean turnover which is the mean of turnover. The mean profit loss prior to the exclusion of tax is 3,69,600 pounds sterling, and this indicates much volatility with a wide fluctuation. Mean tangible assets and shareholder assets are at an amount of 4288000, and this has no variation. Probably because of reporting consistency, the average would be 18.42%, and the standard deviation is 28.03, meaning that it swings a lot. The liquidity ratio mean is 1.3x is comparatively stable. The average of gearing are 47.28%, and the employee count was an average of 1013, which is indicative of a stable workforce. N is equals to 10 is contained in each metric. Moving on to the next slide. Part B. Although the main depicts the central tendency, the median and standard deviation help in getting more insights. An example of this would be the average profit before tax is PS 3,69,600, where the median is only PS 19,000, and one can see that the outer scores. These are the average scores. In the same manner, the standard deviation of is 11,27,000 is a high reading that implies intermittent performance. The average returns to the shareholders' funds is 18.42%. It has a standard deviation of 28.03%, which is rather volatile, and such volatility is fluctuated by the average alone. As such, the median assets is identifying the absence of symmetry in the data, whereas the standard deviation is exposes uniformity, which is important in ensuring a balanced financial analysis and making judgments. And moving on to the next slide, predictive analysis. Part A. The correlation matrix illustrates important correlations between business parameters. PBT is positively correlated with liquidity ratio 0.77 and net tangible asset is 0.91. And these results indicates the good liquidity and strength in asset positively affects profitability. Conversely, the number of employees presents moderate and strong negative relations with the rest variables, whereby minus 0.52 with profit and 0.46 with assets, denoting that rising staff levels do not necessarily reflect the better financial performance. Liquidity ratio is also positively correlated with asset 0.62, as they are both important in enhancing profitability. Such relationships inform strategy in an efficient allocation of resource and workforce. And moving on to the next slide, part B. In order to predict the profit loss before taxation dependent variable, a multiple regression model was used in which the following management metrics were used to forecast the dependent variable. Net tangible assets, liquidity ratio, and number of employees were used as the independent variables. The model is significant, explaining R2 is equal to 0.909. That is, it explains 90.9% of the variance of profit by these variables. The net tangible assets report reveals that the test make statistically significant. P is equals to 0.0006. Thus, they significantly affect the profitability, liquidity, and the number of employees were not as significant. P is greater than 0.05. In general, the model is strong. Significance F is equals to 0.0015. Thus, within the context of strategic forecasting and operational planning. And moving on to the next slide, section 4, predictive analytics. The part C, the predictive model proves to be rather reliable. R2 is equal to 0.909, which points to be strong explanatory power. Adjusted R2 of 0.864 reveals the stability of the model with a vast number of predictors in consideration. The significance of F is 0.0015 implies that the model is not statistically invalid. Moving on to the next slide. Section 5, recommendations and conclusions. According to the descriptive and predictive analysis, two very important managerial decisions are to aim at capitalizing on the use of assets and optimizing the number of workers. The regression model finds the net tangible asset is an important source of profit in support of the literature that indicates the importance of capital efficiency in energy-intensive industries. Managers are advised to boost the productivity of their assets by investing and maintaining strategically and reviewing the distribution of workforce to make the operation effectively. And moving on to the next slide. And these are the references. Thank you so much for giving this great opportunity.